Hey everybody, EchoV here, and Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, the 11th installment in the Fire Emblem franchise, and a remake of the first game, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, released all the way back on April 20, 1990 for the Famicom, but only in Japan. Anyway, mini history lesson done, back to Shadow Dragon. Although lacking some mechanics such as rescue and support conversations, I will stand by it and say that it's not that bad and it's still a great game. Not to mention that I credit this game into getting back into the franchise after not being able to play Ice games, which are Passive Radiance and Radiant Dawn, due to the fact that I never owned a Wii or GameCube growing up. Back to Shadow Dragon, although somewhat faithful to the original game, just like a future remake in the franchise, Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadow Dragon introduced 7 new characters in this remake, and barring one of them, the only way to get these characters is if you, the player, mercilessly and purposely kill majority of the returning cast until you have 15 or fewer characters so you can access their chapters. And as you can guess from the title of this video, I was one of the few people who ruthlessly did it, and as such will tell you some of the few things that I had to do in order to get all these characters. Here we go. And now comes an important question. Why did I do it? Well, for starters, I've been toying on the idea for a good long while ever since I first got the game. I was quickly made aware of this gimmick during my first playthrough. Heck, I was probably halfway through when I learned about it. At first, I thought it was a weird mechanic, so I continued on. But as I got further into the game, I realized something. I had too many characters, and more often than not, I'd get characters of the same class within the same chapter or maybe the chapter after. Yes, it's inevitable in a game like Fire Emblem where one of their biggest features are multiple playable characters, but I eventually thought, rather than just bench them and use just like maybe 10 or 15, why not just drop the load? I mean, even during the 4th prologue chapter, the game tells you that you have to get rid of someone, which in hindsight was pretty much a sign of the game saying, if you thought killing was hard, just you wait. So with my mindset, I took aim and started firing. Someone was gonna die. And now we get to the good part, the kills. And first up are the unrecruited, which were basically the characters who need to be recruited to be usable. So rather than asking them to join, I either just ignored them, or my favorite, murder them in cold blood. And the first of these two were Chapter 2's Castor and Daros, both enemies who need to be spoken to by Shida and Bart respectively, but instead they met a weapon. 2 chapters later in Chapter 4, we have Masses, who needs to be spoken to by his younger sister Lena, but because he never left with Lena, he was instead forced to leave this earth. 1 chapter later in Chapter 5, we have Wendell, who forced me to restart after killing Julian, so I returned the favor by killing him with Mart, the guy he was supposed to talk to. Chapter 6 is next, and the first bloodless death in this unrecruited run, because the chapter's character, Rickard, somehow got himself imprisoned. And because I'm a law-abiding citizen of society, I didn't free him because he needs to serve his sentence. Another bloodless death in Chapter 7, because Bantu was in a village, guarded by a gate, guarded by some enemies. So I simply ignored the village, sparing his life. Which I realize is a shame because I do end up having to kill another character, which we'll get to in a while. Next is Chapter 8, who had Roger, who needed Kata, so I killed him. Chapter 9 had George, who needed to be visiting the village, so I ignored him, sparing his life. And finally, a huge jump to Chapter 11 with Jake and Linday. Linday was in a village, so I ignored her. And as for Jake, even if I wanted to recruit him, I couldn't, because to recruit him, I needed to first talk to Anna in one of the houses, and then talk to him with Kata, and I swear, maybe it was a glitch or something, but I could not find Anna for the life of me. Wait, why am I talking about like it matters? I end up killing him either way. Another jump to Chapter 13, and we have Astram and Beck. Beck was in a village, so I simply ignored him. And as for Astram required to be spoken to by Miria, who was one of the characters I killed. which of course meant that Beck had to die as well. Chapter 14 was next, and we have Hala and Katrin, one of the White Queen sisters. Special case enemies because they actually seek out Mars in order to be recruited rather than try to attack to get to him. But instead, I decided to greet them with some arrows. They're playable in Gaiden anyway, so I'm pretty sure that they flew away after I beat them, right? Right? Another chapter jump because next up is chapter 16, where we have Zane, who needs Mars to be recruited, so that resulted in another death. But ignoring Zane, we have a special case with Samson and Aaron, where only one of them can be recruited. But because I don't have time for their petty squabbles, they remain in timeout in their respective village. And finally, we have chapter 19 and 20 with Tiki and Lawrence respectively. I decided to talk about these two characters at the same time because they have the same deal. Both are the bosses of their respective chapter, and they need to be spoken to be recruited. Remember what I said earlier about somewhat regretting to get Bantu? This is why, because to get Tiki, you need to have Bantu speak with her. And because I didn't get him, I had no choice but to kill her. But at least Goto reassured me that she just went back to sleep, so there's no harm done, honestly. I do not feel the same way for Lawrence because he's just needs to be spoken to by Mars or Kata, so I killed him without any guilt. As for the rest of the Fallen, it goes without saying, but with a lot of them being recruited at the beginning of the chapter, all that needed to be done was to take their weapons and send them off to their deaths. The enemy just took care of the rest, with some noteworthy ones being Yagen, Frey, and Gordon, who, in Paralogue 4, I had Frey as my decoy, but I had both Gordon and Yagen killed by Gross main forces. Next was chapter 1 with Drog, who took way too long to kill due to 1A, being a knight, which means it takes a while for him to get killed, which means I just sat there while he just ate blows, which would have been easier said than done had those annoying pirates not gone for my main forces. And even worse was that he even dodged some of them. Ugh. And when he finally fell, I could finally move on with my life. Next was chapter 10 with Maria, who only had one contribution out of all the deaths, and the sole reason why I had to recruit her was so I could recruit her older sister Minerva. Once I did, I had her killed.
I'm sorry, little one.
I was already training late, okay? And she comes at a way too low level to even invest time in. And finally was chapter 12, with Medea, Dolph, Marcellin, Thomas, and Boa, who even on a regular playthrough are easy to have killed due to them only being in a 4x2 square space cell with only 2 safe spots. But thankfully, because it is a Gaiden playthrough, I just let them all die. Sure saves me the stress. An interesting mechanic in Shadow Dragon is replacement units. Starting in chapter 4, Battle of the Lee, including Marth, we need to bring a certain number of units to the chapter. This of course doesn't include potential recruitable characters. Basically, replacement units are faceless characters, with their names taken from a rotating bank of 31 names. Their classes are chosen at random, save for a few, and are leveled accordingly to the average level of units overall, and come with basic weaponry. Because these characters count towards the 15 needed to access a Gaiden chapter, I just do the same thing and have them killed off. It's just that easy. With all things said and done, there's only one question that remains. Was this playthrough worth it? And the answer? Yes. It got me to play one of my favorite video game franchises in a way that I never got to experience before. In a series where you bond with these characters and want to see how they do after the end of the war, it was refreshing to see hidden mechanics like this in a game. These days, however, this kind of mechanic will be difficult to pull off, thanks to the introduction of casual mode, or heck, even Phoenix mode. But on the one occasion that this mechanic was a thing, it was a weird decision, yes, but it was a fun way to play the game, which, ironically, led to one of my favorite playthroughs of the entire franchise overall. Do I want to see this mechanic in the future? Probably. Maybe. I don't really know for sure. But if it ever comes back, you can bet I'm gonna try it once again. And that's it for this video. Have you done something like this in your copy of Shadow Dragon? Do you want the mechanic like this to return on your entry someday? Comment below! Apologies for being late, by the way. This video took a while to put together, as well as some other things happening behind the scenes, which pretty much contributed to this video's delay. Thanks so much for watching. If it's your birthday today, then happy birthday. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye everyone, be good to each other.